You hatch from an egg, somewhere in northern Europe, with two siblings cracking out of their shells beside you on the nest. The nest sits half on the bank and half over the water, built from reeds and grass piled high enough to keep the eggs above the surface. Your mother is gone. One of your siblings crawls toward the edge of the nest, its legs too weak to stop, and slides straight into the water below. You crawl after it, and the moment you hit the surface, the current pulls you both sideways and away from the bank. You kick your legs trying to get back, but the water keeps moving you further out. Then your mother comes around the bend with her wings half raised, moving fast across the surface toward you. She gets behind you both and pushes you with her chest back toward the bank, steering you into the reeds until your feet find the mud. You climb back up the side of the nest with your legs shaking under you, but while she was in the water getting you back, a crow landed on the nest. It's standing over the third egg with its beak already working at the shell. Your mother sees it and drives her body up out of the water and onto the bank, running at the crow with her wings fully open. The crow grabs what it can from the cracked shell and lifts off before she reaches it. She stands over the broken egg for a moment, then steps back into the nest and lowers herself over you and your sibling. The third egg is gone. Two of you made it, and that's what she has now. She tucks her head back and goes still, with both of you pressed underneath her. You're 3 weeks old now, and your legs are finally strong enough to carry you properly across the bank. Your mother is out on the water feeding, so you and your sibling follow her in and paddle alongside her with your legs kicking hard underneath you. That's when she does something you haven't seen before. She lowers her head into the water and tips her whole body forward so her tail goes straight up into the air, with her neck stretching down to pull up weeds from the bottom. You try to copy her, pushing your head under and tipping forward, but your body is too light so your back end just bobs around and you come straight back up. You try again and again, until you finally get your head deep enough to pull up a thin string of weed. That's your first real meal. Then your father cuts across the water toward the far bank with his wings raised up off his back. A moorhen has moved too close to where your mother is feeding, so he drives straight at it with his chest pushing a wave in front of him, forcing it up onto the bank. You want to follow him, so you swim hard in his direction, but you're too slow, and he's already turning back by the time you get there. A while later, an older cygnet from across the lake swims into your stretch of water. Your father turns and goes for it immediately, chasing it back across the middle of the lake with his wings spread wide, and your mother moves in close, so you stay between her and the bank. Your wings are still small and flat against your sides, but in a few months, they'll be big enough to try something you haven't done yet. You're 4 months old now, and your wings have been growing and fast over the past few weeks. They're big enough to try, so you decide to use them. You pick a long stretch of open water on the lake and start running across the surface with your feet slapping hard and your wings beating down on both sides, trying to get enough speed to lift off. But your body is too heavy for how fast you're going, so your feet stay on the water and you slow down and stop. You turn around and try again from the other end, this time running longer before you pull your wings down hard, and your chest comes up off the surface. Your feet drag for a moment, then lose the water completely. That's your first time in the air. You climb higher, with your wings pushing down in long strokes and your neck stretched out in front, and the lake drops away below you. But you've never landed before, and you don't know how to slow yourself down properly, so you come in too fast with your feet out in front and hit the water hard, sliding forward on your chest before stopping. You're not hurt, but that landing needs work. A few days later, you're flying longer stretches, following the lake's edge and turning back before you go too far. Then one afternoon, you go further than you mean to, past the tree line and over a field, and when you try to come back down, you realize you're over grass. Swans need water to land safely. Their legs aren't built to absorb the impact of hitting solid ground at speed. So you pull up and circle, trying to find the lake again. You spot it through the trees and come around, dropping toward the water and getting your feet down just in time. You're flying now. But the further you go, the easier it is to get lost. You're 8 months old now, and your parents have started driving you away. Every time you move toward the nest or the feeding area close to the bank, your father turns and comes at you with his wings up until you back off and swim away. So after a few days of this, you stop going back. You leave the lake and follow the river downstream until you find a wider stretch of water where a group of young swans are already gathered along the bank. You move into the water near the edge of the group, keeping your head low and your wings flat. A larger juvenile on the water spots you and turns toward you immediately, swimming straight at you with his chest forward. So you angle away and let him push you back toward the shallower part of the bank. He takes the stretch of open water you were heading for and goes back to feeding. You're hungry and you need to eat, so you tip forward and pull up what you can from the shallower weeds near the edge, taking what's left rather than pushing back. But a few days later, you find something the others haven't reached yet. Further along the bank, past a bend in the river, a thick patch of weed is sitting just below the surface. You feed there for a long time with your head going down again and again, pulling up long strands and working through the patch steadily. By the time 2 others from the group swim around the bend and find you there, you've already eaten your fill. That's the first time you've found something before anyone else. You're bigger now than you were a month ago, and your chest is wider. Soon, you'll be strong enough to stop moving aside. Skip forward a bit, and you're 1 year old now. The older swans in the group have already started moving, taking off one by one and heading south, so you follow. You get into the air and fall into the line behind them with your wings beating hard to keep up. It's the first time you've flown with a group over open land, and for a while, everything holds together. Then the formation starts to break apart. The swans ahead of you spread out and pull in different directions, so you follow the ones closest to you. But they bank hard to one side and you lose them. You keep flying, trying to find the line again, but there's nothing around you now. You're on your own for the first time in the air. Your legs are getting heavy and you need to come down, so you pick a lake below you and drop toward it with your feet out in front and your wings pulling back. You hit the water hard and slide forward before stopping. The lake is unfamiliar, and you've never been here before. You move toward the bank to rest, but before you get there, another swan already on the water turns and comes straight at you with its wings raised and its neck stretched forward. It's bigger than you and it covers the gap fast, so you turn and swim the other way, putting distance between you and the bank. It follows you to the middle of the lake and then stops, holding its position with both wings still up. You stay out in the open water, too far from the bank to feed properly. That's your first time being completely alone with no group and no familiar lake to go back to. But you've made it this far, and next time you go up, you'll need to make sure you don't lose the line again. You're 3 years old now, and for the first time you've started following a particular female around the lake. Every time she moves to a new stretch of water to feed, you follow and position yourself nearby, keeping your distance, but staying close enough that she can see you. After a few days of this, you swim directly toward her and mirror her movements, turning when she turns and stopping when she stops. That's called courting, and swans do it by copying each other until one of them decides to stay. She doesn't move away, so you lift your chest up out of the water and press it toward hers with your neck curving down and your head almost touching the surface. She copies you, lifting her own chest and curving her neck the same way so your two heads face each other just above the water. That's the moment it becomes real. But then another male comes across the lake toward you, with his wings raised up off his back and his neck pulled back against his body. He's bigger than you and he comes in fast, so you turn to face him and raise your own wings as wide as they'll go. He drives straight into you with his chest hitting yours, and both of you pushing hard against each other with your feet churning the water underneath. You get your neck around his and pull his head down toward the surface, holding him there until he twists free and backs off across the water. He doesn't come back. You turn and the female is still there, sitting low in the water a few meters away. You swim toward her and she stays put. The two of you move along the bank together, feeding side by side for the rest of the day. You have a mate now. Next comes a nest, and everything that tries to take what's inside it. You're 4 years old now, and the eggs are in the nest. Your mate has been sitting on them for weeks, with her body pressed down flat over the clutch, and your job is to keep everything away from her. A carrion crow lands on the bank a few meters from the nest and walks toward it with its head low and its eyes on the eggs. You're already moving before it gets close, pulling yourself up out of the water and onto the bank with your wings spread wide, running straight at it so it lifts off and goes back across the water. But it comes back. It lands further along the bank and walks toward the nest from a different angle, trying to get around you. So you cut across the bank and drive at it again, and this time you get close enough that your wing clips its body as it lifts off. It circles above and lands on the far bank, watching. A while later, your mate stands up off the nest to go and feed, so you climb up and sit over the eggs yourself with your body covering the whole clutch. The crow comes back across the water the moment she leaves, landing right at the edge of the nest. You rise up and beat your wings hard at it from above, and it backs off just far enough to wait. She comes back and takes over, and the crow finally leaves. A few days later, the eggs start moving. Small cracks run across the shells, and one by one the cygnets push their way out, with their wet bodies pressing up against your mate's chest. 4 of them make it out. You take the cygnets onto the water for the first time the next day. But the river has other things living in it, and not all of them will leave your family alone. You're 7 years old now, and your 4 cygnets from last season have already left the lake. Your mate is back on the nest with a new clutch, and you're out on the river, moving upstream to feed along a stretch of bank you've used for years. Everything is the same as it always is. You feed for a while, tipping forward with your neck going down into the water and pulling up long strands of weed. Then you push off the bank and get into the air, heading back downstream toward the lake. You've flown this route more times than you can count, following the bend in the river, where the trees pull back from both sides and the water runs straight for a long stretch below you. But this time, a power line runs across the river at the point where the trees open up. It's thin and it sits low over the water, and you're already dropping in height to follow the line of the river down toward the lake. You don't see it. You're flying with your neck out and your wings back and your body angled down, and by the time the line is close enough to make out, there's no time to pull up. The wire hits you across the chest and neck, and the impact throws your body forward and down. You hit the surface of the river hard with your wings out to both sides and your neck folded under you, and you don't get up. The current pushes your body slowly toward the bank, where it catches in the reeds and stops. Back on the lake, your mate is still on the nest with her body pressed flat over the eggs, waiting for you to come back.